Does your Stardust storage look like this? And you want to power up your favorite Pokemon, but you can't? Well, today I'm going to be going through the #1 Stardust grinding trick you can be doing in Pokemon Go right now in March of 2023. Now, this strategy does take some planning, and it's not going to be overnight insane Stardust gains, but if you're patient with me and you follow the strategy in this video, you'll be getting a bunch of extra Stardust that you normally wouldn't have that you can invest into your favorite Pokemon. So this Stardust trick all comes down to one feature in Pokemon Go, which is going to be stacking tasks. If you've watched the channel for a while, you've heard me talk about this, but this month you're definitely going to be using it because there is some special encounters that we can get that make stacking tasks so useful. Before we get into that though, I do want to quickly explain what stacking tasks is. You know when you get a field research encounter in Pokemon Go and you catch that Pokemon, it'll go into your storage. But have you ever wondered what would happen if you ran from that encounter? Well, if you run from a field research task encounter, it will get thrown into something we call the stack tasks. Now note, this is not a supported feature by Niantic. They do not add updates to this feature. It is just kind of a backup, a safe feature that Niantic implemented. You don't actually lose your field research encounters. And I'm glad they did, because it makes it great when you accidentally press that run button on a field research task encounter. It doesn't just disappear forever, it gets thrown into your stack tasks. Now, stack tasks is going to be a separate encounter button at the top of your field research bar. It is independent from your 3 current field research tasks you can hold, whether they are completed or not. You can technically have 4 field research task encounters at once, because the top one's going to be your stack task and the other 3 are going to be the current ones you're holding. Now, you can hold up to 100 stack tasks, and you may ask how. Well, if I get a field research task encounter with a Pokemon like Combi, for example, and I run from that encounter, it'll get thrown into my stack tasks. But then what happens if I get another field research task encounter with a Pokemon like Snubbull and I run from that one? Well, it'll get thrown into your stack task as well, but you'll notice there's only 1 encounter bar in the stack tasks. That's because stack tasks get stacked, as the name suggests, back to back to back. You can hold up to 100 of them back to back to back to back, and the first one in that whole series is always going to be the first task you stack. So let's say the first Pokemon I ran from was a Combi, it's going to be at the front, and then a Snubbull, it's going to go right behind it. Now you may ask, how do you encounter that Snubbull? How do you get that encounter with the Snubbull? Well, you need to catch your stack task. If I catch that Combi, the next time I click on that button, it'll show me in the encounter how with the Snubbull, etc., and obviously you can hold up to 100. Now note, however, if you do go over 100 stack task encounters and you start running from encounters, when you're over 100, it'll start deleting Pokemon encounters, and you don't want that. So for example, if I have 100 stack tasks and I get 101 stack task, that first one we did, which was a Combi, is gonna get completely deleted. I will never be able to encounter that again, and that new stack task will get thrown to the back, and the Snubbull will move up to the front. Now, why is this important though? People are like, this is a weird feature. Well, this is important because it allows us to use a strategy called holding on to encounters. Normally, that Snubbull encounter, that Combi encounter, had to be encountered and caught in that moment if you want to continue getting field research tasks. And normally, you could technically only hold up to 3 encounters because you can have 3 field research tasks. And if you don't claim those or catch those Pokemon from the field research task encounters, you'll never get more field research. But what stack tasks let you do is hold up to 100 Pokemon encounters for a future date in the future when you want to actually catch those Pokemon. When would you want to catch these Pokemon though? Well, that's going to be during events when there is bonuses and you're going to get much more out of catching these Pokemon. For example, if you hold on to a Pokemon that gets you extra Stardust every time you encounter it, and then you wait till a 2 times or 3 times catch Stardust event, normally if you caught that Pokemon in the moment, you're only getting, you know, let's say 500 Stardust, but during that 2 times catch Stardust event, you're getting 1,000. So you see what I'm saying here? You want to hold on to Pokemon encounters, hold them in your stack tasks, and catch them at the proper time when the bonus is live so you can take advantage. Some people also hold on to Pokemon they want extra candy for 2 times or 3 times catch candy events. Some people hold on to Pokemon that are easy excellent throws for 2 times XP or 3 times XP events. This is the #1 trick you should be doing in Pokemon Go, and we have some special field research task encounters this month that you're going to want to be stacking. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So this month there's going to be 4 different field research tasks you want to be hunting at Pokestop, and from those 4 tasks, these Pokemon are going to get you extra Stardust. We're going to get into #1, which is going to be the most valuable one, and that's going to be catch 5 water type Pokemon, and that will get you an encounter with the Shelder. Shelder is a very well-known Pokemon to get you extra Stardust, and it gets you 1,000 Stardust every time you catch it. So if you encounter Shelder at any time this month, run from it, put it in your stack task, and you're going to want to hold on to it for a future Stardust event, which I'm going to talk about when you want to hold on to them in a bit. Now, I do want to know on screen, I'm going to show you guys a map of the New York-ish area and all the Pokestops that have encounters. And this is just for example purposes. I don't even use this, but every single one that says Shelder bell will show you a shelter encounter. So that can give you a general idea of how rare these tasks are gonna be this month. This is all of New York area, a lot of Pokestops in that area, and the shelter tasks are not that common. But I still do recommend going out and trying to hunt them if you can, because every time you find one of these shelter tasks, you're gonna wanna go ahead and complete it and stack that Pokemon. Nonetheless, so let's move on to the next task, which is gonna be make 5 curveball throws in a row. That task will get you an Alolan Meowth, which is a Pokemon that gets you 750 base Stardust every time you catch it. Similar to Shelter, although a little bit less Stardust you get every single time, this is still a Pokemon you're gonna wanna stack, hold on for 2 times or 3 times catch Stardust events. Also, the make 5 curveball throws in a row is an easier task to complete than the catch 5 water types. That's gonna bring us on to number 3, which is gonna be less desirable, but it's gonna be take 3 snapshots of wild water type Pokemon, getting you a Poliwhirl encounter. Poliwhirl, being a stage 1 Pokemon, is gonna get you 300 Stardust per catch. If you don't know, those evolved Pokemon get you more Stardust. So again, another Pokemon you can stack. Finally, leading us to the last task, probably the least desirable one, trade a Pokemon for a Seadra. Seadra is gonna get you 300 Stardust every time you catch it. And again, although not as much Stardust as those first 2, if you do encounter these Pokemon, you can still go ahead and stack them because they do get you extra Stardust. Now, I'm sure you guys are gonna go out and do what I just said and stack all those Pokemon, but the real question comes down to, when is it the time to catch these Pokemon? Well, there's 2 events coming up in Pokemon Go, which are gonna have boosted Stardust gains, and you're gonna wanna catch your Pokemon then. Number 1 is gonna be on March 21st from 6 to 7 p.m. During Lit and Spotlight Hour, we're gonna have 2 times catch Stardust. You can put on a star piece, catch all of your stacked encounters during that day, and get a bunch of Stardust. However, if you're extra patient and really wanna get the biggest bang for your buck, you're gonna wanna wait till May Community Day, which is gonna be on May 21st, 2 to 5 p.m. If the bonuses follow suit, May Community Day should be a 3 times catch Stardust event. So putting on a star piece, catching all those Shelders, those Alolan Meowths during that Community Day is gonna be essential. Also, that'll give you a lot more time to stack even more Pokemon, potentially getting you closer to that 100 cap, which will get you the most bang for your buck. Now, what I recommend here is if you're a grinder and you're gonna get 100 stack tasks super quick, I definitely recommend catching a couple during the Lit and Spotlight Hour. But if you're someone who's more casual play and doesn't really have as much time to, you know, in a month get 100 field research tasks stacked, especially the rare ones like Shelter, you can go ahead and chill out and hold on to those Pokemon until May 21st. Now, some people are probably asking for numbers. Dax, I need to see the numbers. I need to see if this is worth it for me. Is it really worth a grind? So I do want to go through the numbers right now. Shelter is going to be the most stars you can get this month in terms of a stacked task. We're going to use this as our benchmark. Now, Shelter gets you 1,000 Stardust, so we're going to use that as our base amount. Then we're going to say we're going to be catching these Shelters during a 3 times catch Stardust of Community Day. So we're going to be able to multiply that Stardust gains by 3. Then we're going to say we're using a star piece when catching it, which you're definitely going to want to make sure you're going ahead and doing. So that's going to be times 1.5. That's going to get you 4,500 Stardust every time you catch a Shelter during the Community Day in May, as long as you stack them. That's like catching 45 regular Pokemon, which is absolutely insane for catching 1 Pokemon. Now, of course, let's say you're able to stack 100 of them. Not all of you will be able to stack 100, but let's say for numbers sake, the most amount of stars you can get is going to be 455,000 Stardust just by stacking 100 Pokemon and waiting till May. Now, yes, in theory, before May, you could definitely grind 450,000 stars by just catching regular wild spawn, but why not do this? Why not take 3 seconds to run from stacked encounters, hold on to them until May, and then get just a bunch of extra Stardust that you normally wouldn't be getting? It takes 3 seconds to say, oh, that's a Shelter. Let me run from it and then catch it in May. So you think this is just a big waste of time and it's gonna take way too much of your time? It really doesn't take a lot of time. It just requires you to think when you get one of these encounters with Pokemon that are boosted Stardust, run from them, and then remember in May, which I will remind you guys here on the channel, to catch those Pokemon. Now, one quick tip I do want to give you guys though, is when you actually are encountering those Pokemon, remember to give them a berry. Why is that? Well, during 3 times catch stars communities, 2 times catch stars events, it's usually limited time and you don't have a lot of time, which means you don't want to waste a lot of time catching your stacked Pokemon with a star piece, and you want to catch those Pokemon as quick as possible so you can catch whatever the Community Day spawn is and get a lot of shinies, etc. So if you give your Shelders a golden raspberry or a raspberry, or give your Alolan Meowths a golden raspberry or a raspberry, when you re-encounter those Pokemon on Community Day, they will already have that berry, saving you berry time, and you can just go ahead and throw Pokeballs. Now, obviously, some Pokemon are really easy to catch, like Shelter, and doesn't even really require a berry, but that's just a way to guarantee that you're gonna catch those Pokemon really quick because they're already gonna be buried, they're already gonna be ready to be caught, and you can save a lot of time. And that's gonna be the video. As we do the outro, I will put on screen all the other changed tasks from this month. Usually every single month I do a video on, you know, all the field research tasks, but this month I wanted to change it up and give you guys, you know, more in depth on the stacking tasks technique. But you can check out on screen all the different encounters. We have some new ones in there, like, you know, win a raid for Skarmory, battle and go battle league for an Onix. And of course, I will link below the Sylph Road, which has a full breakdown of every single field research task available. If there's any other ones you want to grind and you don't really care about the Stardust, you just want to get yourself a good IV, Eevee, or, you know, Krogunk or whatever, definitely go check out Sylph Road. They do amazing research and they're the reason I can make videos like this. That's gonna be it for me though, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you're gonna be stacking Shelders this month, or you just you don't care at all about this strategy and you think it's just a huge waste of time. And we'll see you on the next one. Follow for tips. Peace.